Welcome, everybody. It is week 14. It is Start Sit Different Day here this Saturday morning. I am Josh Hudson. With me, as always, is Faith, but the rest of the crew has other things they're doing today. No Ryan this week, no Joe this week. So we called in some reinforcements, and we've got a great group of guests. And yes, I say group because there's more than just one this week. You've seen him before on the show. The young fantasy mind himself, Hutchinson Brown, joins us. And for the first time on a Club Fantasy stream, the legendary Scott Fish. We are all here to answer your start-sit questions as we head into week 14 on the eve of the fantasy football playoffs. Wow, that's a mouthful this morning. Stay tuned.
Good Saturday morning, everybody. Welcome to Start Sit Different Day, Different Crew. Josh, don't tell Ryan or Joe, but if we can have Scott and Hutch every week instead of those two, I would prefer that. Thanks.
Oh yeah, there was a whole argument last night with John. You were arguing with John. That was great.
So for those of you who are familiar with, no pun intended, on Wednesdays, whenever Joe is unavailable for that show, Hutch takes his place. So here's Hutch to take Joe's spot. Nobody could ever replace Ryan because that mustache is just irreplaceable. So we just didn't even try, but yeah. Joe is really easy to replace. And then it's Scott Fish, which it's funny because when Josh was introducing Scott at the beginning before the video, the legendary Scott Fish, you could see Scott in the background just shaking his head. Because if you ask Scott, he's just a normal person. Mm-hmm. Which is why everybody loves Scott Fish.
Yep, we're all just normal people doing the same thing, loving this this awesome hobby that we all have.
Hutch, how are you this morning? Scott, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, I thought that was my headset for a second.
Yeah, I thought that was my computer too. I was nervous. I thought my service went out.
Okay.
All right, he's coming back.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Hutch, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. You know, this show's already gotten off the rails, and it's awesome. I'm very excited for today and getting these start-sit questions answered.
Hutch says it's already gotten off the rails. Oh, honey.
Oh, yeah, I know what's coming. I don't worry.
Apparently, that's the PG-13 version of off the rails.
Oh, man. There's Scott.
What's going on?
There we go.
We were talking before the show, too. I don't know what happened there for a brief minute, but that's glad to be back.
Scott is back. Josh, before we get into any of these questions, do you want to give the bad news?
Yeah, I can do all the injury updates since Ryan isn't here.
You can be the Ryan of this show.
I'll be the Ryan for this week, which is, I guess it works. It is my middle name, so there's that.
It is.
All right, so obviously big news that dropped on Thursday. Damaris Thomas, former wide receiver with the Denver Broncos, passed away at the very young age of 33. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to his family, the Denver Broncos community. That's a huge loss. And I know that he's had a huge impact amongst many of us in the fantasy community over the years, just from his performances on the field. So there's that, obviously, which, wow, now getting into the rest of this is going to be even more depressing. Okay. Davis Mills now starting for the Houston Texans for the rest of the season. Tyrod Taylor, man, like this dude just can't catch a break.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Is it because Tyrod's injury, or are they just going to let Davis Mills try?
No, they're just going to see what they have in Davis Mills,
which is really what they should have been doing this whole season anyway.
Yeah, that's really what they should be doing.
Neither here nor there. Saints wide receiver Deontay Harris officially suspended for the next 3 games. Now down to the injuries. The only quarterback listed out this week is Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. Officially doubtful is Chicago Bears quarterback Andy Dalton. Giants quarterback Mike Glennon, officially questionable, though I believe I saw something that said he's likely trending towards playing.
He did clear protocol now. So
yeah, it looks like. Yeah, I was seeing yesterday he's on track to clear the protocol in time for the game. So
yeah, he did clear it now. So
damn, so no Jake Fromm. Okay.
Yep.
No,
look, we're still streaming the Chargers defense, let's be honest. Running backs out this week. Lions running back DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. So they're down to Jermar Jefferson and another guy whose last name I can't pronounce. I think his first name's Godwin, though.
Godwin.
There you go. Yeah, I'll take
it. Yeah, I think it was his uncle used to play for the Vikings as a punter.
Gotcha.
So
wow.
Yeah.
49ers running back Elijah Mitchell is also out. Adrian Peterson, Travis Homer, Tevin Coleman, all out. Questionable this week, Joe Mixon, who I believe has not practiced yet this week either. So that definitely is a questionable tag to look into. Tony Pollard tore his plantar fascia and still thinks he's going to play. That is painful.
Something that people probably don't realize. It's actually better that he tore it than not tear it. To just have a plantar fascia injury. I've had that. My wife has it currently. It is really, really painful. But the full tear is actually easier for him to play on.
Fair enough. I was going to say I've dealt with plenty of people.
I'm sure it'll still hurt. Still hurt.
Melvin Gordon, questionable. J.D. McKissick, also questionable. Wide receivers out this week. We know earlier this week, Keenan Allen was put on the COVID list. That's painful because the Chargers have a really good matchup, and everybody else seems to be on the COVID list too.
He was looking like he could play for a minute there, like on Wednesday and Thursday. Like he was still looking like he could play, but he just got ruled out, I think, right?
Correct, yeah. Kadarius Toney, Randall Cobb also out. Looks like Cobb's probably going to be out for a while, though, with the injury that he suffered, which I believe was a core muscle injury.
I believe you're right there. Yeah.
Questionable this week: Deebo Samuel, Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, T. Higgins, Sterling Shepard, and Kenny Golladay. Tight ends ruled out: Darren Waller and everybody on the Cleveland Browns except Austin Hooper. David Njoku on COVID. Harrison Bryant's out. So, dial up Austin Hooper this week in a really good matchup against the Ravens.
I was going to say it's an interesting point with Hooper. The three tight ends have been splitting their touches, but if you combine them into one, which might happen this weekend, that season average has been about what Travis Kelce averages, like 6-7 catches, about 75 yards. So if you combine it into Austin Hooper, you might get a Kelce game. That might be
it.
And we've seen Austin Hooper have like fantasy greatness. With Atlanta, he was the top 5 tight end. Maybe we can see some of that this week, especially with just the depleted Browns receiving core. Like they just don't have many guys, and Austin Hooper could be the number 1 for them this week.
Yeah, and they can't run the ball apparently because all the injuries on the offensive line too. So
the Ravens are pretty good.
Brevin Jordan, Ryan Griffin, 2 guys you're probably not starting in fantasy this week. So there's that. And kickers, because Ryan makes me read them, and we love Linda, and shout out to her. Jets are on their 3rd kicker in 3 weeks. Alex Kessman out. Now it's Eddie Pinero, and questionable is the Detroit kicker, who I didn't know who this was, Riley Patterson. So that's that. Faith, back to you.
Sorry. So before we get into the reason why we're all here, I'm going to get into the reason why we're all here.
Okay.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're trying to set up with that.
Great transition.
Because Josh set up a StreamYard? I mean,
because
to be fair, Ryan
are all living, breathing human beings. Because we all play fantasy football. And if you have been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, ever, you will know that Scott Fish, somewhere down there, created Scott Fish Bowl, which this year the theme is bands. Hutch, what division are you in?
I'm in the George Blanda division.
The what?
Oh, no, sorry. Hold on.
That's King's Classic.
No, oh my God.
I was like, wait, isn't that
Dang, that was bad. Okay.
I don't know that band. You're like,
that was a fun draft
Otis
as well.
Redding division.
Otis Redding.
Yeah.
Hutch. Nice.
Arguably one of the oldest artists we had.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, I haven't been too attentive to that league because I've been pretty bad.
It's It's quite.
I've been pretty bad in that league, so I've been because with I've just been really less attentive to my fantasy leagues because I only have one league on there, and I just don't love the platform. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
That platform is
understandable.
old and annoying. I don't like it. So
yeah, there's it definitely has issues. I have things with every platform, but that one, they need an upgrade.
yeah.
Josh, what division are you in?
I can't believe
Lincoln Park, baby.
Scott, what are you in?
BC Boys.
Yes.
Sweet.
I championed. I literally begged Scott on Twitter, constantly for a Delhi division. And I was like, please.
Yeah.
Please, Scott, we need a Delhi division. So I'm in the Delhi division. It's funny. I'm in the Delhi division with some pretty big people, too. Brandon Marion Lee's in there, Paul Chercharian from Guillotine Leagues, John Helmkamp, some great fans who have kicked ass, and I'm like, you can leave now. Don't like you. Thank you. But the purpose of Scott Fishbowl every year, not only to bring a bunch of people together, is to raise money for Fantasy Cares. So, Scott, why don't you tell us how we did this year?
Yeah, well, man, we raised an absolute ton of money. I think we'll end up spending somewhere in the range of $75,000 in toys around the country in different cities. Worked with Matthew Berry to raise another $12,000 for V Foundation. By the way, go read the Love Hate this week. The Open is talking about charitable giving and SFB and stuff like that. It's funny. He wanted it to be a surprise for me, but then he had to text me a bunch of questions.
Way to spoil it, Matthew.
No, it was still a surprise though. Whether it's the day of or it's 2 days prior, it's still a surprise. But go read that. But that raised a bunch of money for that. I think we sent $5,000 to Go Pantry. All in all, there's well over $100,000 sent to different charities.
That's amazing. Yeah. I follow Sal Leto on Instagram, and he storied the day that he went shopping.
Okay.
And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's the same with your really pictures. It's just and then Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, he went shopping as well with he raised from all of this.
Yep.
And it's just it makes my heart so happy that
it is
this
very
community is kind of like a giant family. We bicker all the time, yet we can turn right around and do this. And so I'm just really proud of everybody.
Yeah, it's a very cool thing, the way we can band together for things like that.
So thank you, Scott, for being that reason that we all have that central focus to remember why we do what we do and what the meaning of this season really is.
Yeah, of course. I'm just glad everybody gets together behind it. It's very awesome.
Yeah, this is basically my first year in the industry, and I'm so glad that I got to be a part of something so great this year. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but Scott gave out the invite. I was very thankful.
Of course.
But you've probably been part of a lot of things this season that you didn't think you would.
That's true. Like the George Blandon division that I brought up earlier. I thought was a band. I have no idea. Dude, I still thinking about it that I brought that up. But yeah, the Kings Classic, the Fantasy Football Expo, being on live streams with you guys. And, you guys had me on a show with Mike Wright and Matthew Betts earlier this summer. It was just.
And Howard Bender. Don't forget that one.
Yeah, Howard Bender, too. We got to go with Howard Bender. I actually have a show with him planned for the next couple of weeks on my podcast. Nice. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's been crazy. I've just been given so many opportunities that I never thought I'd be given. It's been so fantastic.
Well, when you know what, as much as you do, and Hutch, you are probably one of the most mature 15-year-olds that I know. To be fair, you are more mature than Josh, Joe, and Ryan combined.
Facts.
They're not here, so I can say that.
No.
Hutch, you shake your head, but I am not lying. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen, both, for who you are and what you do. And with that being said, let's get to why we are here. So Anthony wants to know what you think of Javonte Williams' debut as a lead back and how you think it'll impact touch distribution when Melvin Gordon returns. Side note, Josh didn't explain this, so I will go to you, Hutch, and then go around. So Hutch.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to affect the way the workload is distributed between these two running backs, but I still think Gordon's going to be decently involved. Javonte, I don't think he's going to be taking over the backfield just yet. I feel like that could happen sometime this season, but I feel like for this game, we should expect Javonte to be – I feel like the two workloads are going to be swapped between the two players. Like, Javonte is going to be slightly ahead in terms of workload, and Gordon's going to be right behind him, getting about like 40% of the touches. Javonte about 60%. That's where it is for me.
Scott.
Yeah, I think people want Javonte to take more of a workload than
I want
fantasy people want it more than the Denver Broncos actually want it. They gave him a really good split beforehand. Melvin Gordon, I mean, he's coming into this one dinged up, so I can see it being slightly more Javonte, and it might be slightly more Javonte for the rest of the season, but honestly, it's going to still be pretty close to that split. This week, maybe not so much. Maybe a little more Javonte this week with Gordon banged up. It's still going to be a good split. There's two things you got to worry about with it. Melvin Gordon's last year of the contract. Do they choose to run him more, saving Javonte's legs down the stretch here, and not re-sign Gordon? But both the Broncos and Gordon have talked about interest in keeping Melvin in Denver, which everybody's going to hate next year.
Oh my gosh, that would be very frustrating.
Yeah, there's a good amount of talk already of that. So I think it'll go right back to pretty close split, maybe just slightly in Javonte's favor.
Josh.
The genie is out of the bottle. We do not need to bottle him back up. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. Yes, I still think there's going to be somewhat of a split. And I don't think it's going to be Javonte running with 85% of the workload in terms of running back snaps. But you were in a position to win this game, and Javonte absolutely dominated. All you needed was a better performance out of Teddy Bridgewater. So if you get that, and Javonte has the type of workload that he had, guess what? You probably beat the Chiefs. You go against the Lions this week. How do you beat the Lions? You run the football down their throat. Mm-hmm. Give it to Javonte. Let him do his thing. Tell Teddy to not fuck it up. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
How do you beat the Lions? You be the Vikings.
Yeah.
You be the Vikings. I want to add one quick thing. Like, this game, like, if Javonte were to keep his workload in this game and Gordon's still playing, that's huge. Because that's going to lead to Javonte taking the workload for the rest of the season. This game is going to show a lot, especially after Javonte, huge game, and Gordon being back. What do we do? This is a big game for Javonte and his rest of season value.
See, with Melvin still dinged up, I can see him getting a lighter load this week than he will in future weeks, though. I will say it's such a great matchup that I think both are probably still startable, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Javonte probably just doesn't have the type of like RB1 ceiling that he did because of Gordon coming back.
Yeah, he was the RB2 on the week last week. I believe right behind. Who was he right behind?
I thought he was RB1.
He was? Shoot, I might be wrong. I know he was right there, but I can't remember. On Fantasy Pros, I saw him at RB2 for the week, but I saw one person in front of him. I can't remember who it was.
Well, that would make him RB2 if there was somebody in front of him.
Yeah, that's...
According to Fantasy Data, he was RB1 at 29.8, and David Montgomery was 2 at 28.1.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I was looking at fantasy.
It'll be different.
I usually look at Fantasy Pros for that stuff, but whatever.
Every site's going to have slightly different.
He was very, very good. Let's just say that. He was very, very
good.
There
we go. Okay, so this is a Zolo, likely G, according to Joe. Dak or Stafford? Hutch.
It's easy Dak Prescott here for me. Like Washington, they've really been heating up lately, and I feel like the Cowboys are going to want to go in and show them who's boss. With Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott both banged up, not playing super well. I feel like they're going to want to throw, and they're going to be able to with Amari, CD, Gallup, and Dalton Schultz all fully healthy, and this Washington passing defense playing awful. I think Dak comes out and has a huge game. I'm playing Dak.
Scott.
Yeah, this one's incredible for me because this is my number. I have Matthew Stafford ranked 6, and I have Dak Prescott ranked 7, and I have flipped them a couple times this week already. So I definitely understand your predicament. Right now, I kind of have Matthew Stafford in that 55-point projected shootout on Monday night. I also like having a player on Monday night, so I think that mentally gave me the slight edge. But I have them neck and neck.
Josh.
My gut tells me Dak, even though like we talked on Wednesday about this being like a big letdown game for Dallas. Like Washington's defense has played better. It definitely worries me that their pass rush is essentially sapped with Sweat not being able to come back this week because he landed on COVID. Chase Young being out.
Yep.
Excuse me. I mean, they still have a ton of first rounders on that defensive line, but I mean, Hutch, you brought it up. Their running game is just not it right now with Zeke struggling with the knee and obviously Pollard with the foot injury. It just tells me that they're gonna have to throw if they're gonna win this game. With the Rams, Arizona they dominated them in. I don't remember what week it was. I think it was like week 4 or 5 or something like that.
4.
But and you want to think like, all right, McVay's gonna put in that type of game plan. They're gonna come out gunslinging, etc. I mean, Henderson's still banged up. Who knows what you're going to get out of Sony Michel? One week it could be really good. The next week he could fumble 4 times. But there's a lot of issues still with the Rams passing offense. I mean, it seemed like they got it together last week with Jacksonville. But again, that's Jacksonville. Arizona's not Jacksonville. So I think I'm going to lean Dak just from sheer volume. But just like you said, Scott, I think it's a lot closer than we want to think.
And even though Washington's pass defense has been better lately, Arizona's pass defense is good too. So
they've been very good.
Yeah.
I just want to state for the record that sorry, Joe and Ryan.
Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Ryan. Sorry, guys.
But
Love
Ryan
I think Ryan's watching this too.
Josh is not the Ryan.
That is correct. Your mustache is better, buddy.
Always. Our friend Carrington wants to know: pick 2 in a PPR. Robinson, Javonte Williams, or my name is Jeff Wilson. I don't get that last
great.
one. Okay. Hutch.
Yeah, I think
it may just be easier to eliminate one.
I think I'm going to eliminate James Robinson here, honestly. I don't want to deal with him being banged up. I don't want to deal with that at all. It says that he's ready for this week, but I don't love this matchup here. I really don't. I feel like the Jaguars are going to fall behind a little bit, might have to throw. And James Robinson's really just been not fun lately. He's just been not fun to have in your fantasy lineup. I want to start Javonte Williams, and I trust Jeff Wilson with the opportunity he's going to get now that Elijah Mitchell's out. So I just want to bench James Robinson this week.
Yeah, I'm with Hutch on this one. Javonte Williams is the clear one out of these, and Jeff Wilson, when he's gotten the start, when he's gotten that 16 to 20 touches, he has produced. James Robinson, I mean, he's played 3 games against the Titans, and he averages 118 yards against them. It's crazy, but he's been benched twice in a row for fumbling, which is ridiculous because the 23 games before that he didn't fumble. So it's clearly not an issue for him. I think there's a sneaky, squeaky wheel game coming for James Robinson that he's probably start worthy, but not up against those two, where Urban Meyer's taken heat all week for this. So they're going to give him some work. He's just lost the pass catching work that he got last year. And I just the other two are just better options, honestly.
I mean, he's gotten 4 targets in each of the last 2 weeks. He just hasn't really.
Yeah.
He didn't make anything of it last week. He only got 1 catch. He's seen 8 targets, only gotten 4 catches in the last 2 weeks. So
yeah, I should have been clear that he's not getting the receiving fantasy points that he was last year.
Yeah, he's not getting the fantasy points. The volume's there. He's just not taking advantage.
Josh.
Jeff Wilson kind of scares me.
Yeah, last game
And
he
I'll
was
say,
terrible when he got the opportunity.
Well, I was going to say, he started one game earlier this year, and everybody was like, oh, Jeff Wilson to the moon, and then scored 6 fantasy points.
He was he was 1 touchdown catch away there from making that a good game. Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, isn't every player 1 touchdown catch away from making it a good game?
He had 4 starts last year, and he was pretty decent in those 4 starts last year.
Yeah,
too.
I agree. Yeah, and that's what makes me want to lean Wilson. James Robinson's one of my biggest fades this week. Urban Meyer is a terrible NFL head coach. absolutely terrible. And I will stress NFL because we know what he's done in college, but that doesn't always translate to the pros. And
Urban Meyer is a terrible person. Let's just be real.
I'm with you 1,000% on that one. Go ahead, Scott.
I was just gonna say, here's the nice point on Jeff Wilson is the 49ers give their running backs 30 touches a game, and they only have 2 healthy running backs for this game. So he's going to see 15 plus. And the running backs that get 15 touches against the Bengals are getting 90 plus yards. And I think 6 of those 8 running backs scored. When you get that kind of volume on the Bengals, you perform.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Robinson being one of my fades, I would personally lean Williams and Wilson here. It's just I'm probably not as confident in Wilson as you two are, so I would still tread.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely scared. I'm
not confident. I'm just projecting well. I'm trying to give this guy confidence.
Scott, put it into the ether.
I'm just trying to give this guy confidence in making the start.
For me, I'm just Javonte Williams locked in, and I'm just more scared of James Robinson with his issues lately with Urban Meyer now.
Yeah, and Tennessee has a good run defense as well. Like that is the strong point of their defense.
Yeah, Tennessee's run defense is good.
They've held fantasy running backs to not great point totals. So yeah, I'm gonna lean Williams and Wilson here and sit Robinson, sadly, because I love James Robinson.
So in case you haven't heard the story, you should definitely go find it. Josh was telling Hutch and I before we started about Urban Meyer's latest antics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tom Pelissaro tweeted out. Apparently, there's a lot more growing dissension in the Jaguars locker room and front office with Urban Meyer and how he's like calling out coaches because they're not proven winners and asking for like their resumes and stuff. And I'm like, did you not see their resumes when you hired them?
Wow.
Or, I mean, they could have already been there when he came in. But I mean,
no, he hired that entire coaching staff.
Yeah, he hired a lot of them.
Yeah.
Hence the reason I said Urban Meyer is a terrible person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marcos asks, in a half PPR, he needs a flex. Higgins, Elijah Moore, Devontae Freeman, or Jeff Wilson Hutch.
Wow. Oh, man. For me, it's between 2. I'm immediately ruling out Freeman and Wilson. I'm going for the receivers here. Mm-hmm. And I love both of these guys for this week. But Higgins has just been absolutely lighting it up. I think I'm going to go Higgins this week. But I think both are fantastic starts this week against 2 easy matchups, 2 games where I could see a lot of scoring. But I'm going to lean Higgins. He's really been on fire lately. But yeah, both Elijah Moore and Higgins are great start, but I slightly lean Higgins.
Scott.
I'm right here with Hutch too. I'm eliminating the running backs almost immediately. Elijah Moore, I think I have as my wide receiver 20 or so, and I have T. Higgins as my wide receiver 7 this week, so it would be Higgins over Moore. Despite not allowing a lot of like yards to quarterbacks, the 49ers don't. They actually give up a decent amount of yards to wide receiver 1s and 2s, and over the last 4 weeks, they've allowed the 4th most yards to wide receiver 1s and wide receiver 2s in the NFL. That's a Higgins and Chase stat for you. In that 4 weeks, second most receptions, 5th most yards. They're 4th worst overall against 1 and 2 wide receivers. I just really like Higgins this week.
Yeah, Higgins is my wide receiver 12, and then Moore is at 14. So they're right neck and neck for me.
Josh.
I don't know how I'm supposed to follow Scott Fish with all that, so I'm just going to agree. And say I will say this about Elijah Moore.
A lot of fancy stats.
Elijah Moore, I don't believe has practiced at all this week, and that alone would lead me to kind of lean more towards Higgins in that front. So
you hit me on a good day. I do a lot of radio on Fridays, so like I get all prepped up for Friday. And then...
All right, so now we know. Invite Scott on Saturday.
Nice. I just want to state for the record that there is a lot of agreement happening, which like never happens on a Saturday morning. There's usually
that's when Joe's here.
3 that agree. Yeah, Joe's generally here to just be the contrarian, and I like this piece. Once again, another argument for replacing those 2 buffoons.
Damn, Faith. Throwing rocks this morning, huh?
Always, bro. Especially with those two. Carrington also says, with the playoffs coming up, what do we do with Ridley? He's currently sitting on his IR, but there are other people that can go in your IR spot. Do you write it out or rip off the Band-Aid and move on? Hutch.
Man, Ridley was a player that I was in love with this season. He was my wide receiver 1 overall. Ridley was my guy. I got him all over the place, and that is really hurt. But I think you can move on. I really think Ridley, I think he's done for the season. There have been no reports whatsoever on him remotely, like possibly coming back. And with your playoffs, if you have players that you can put on your IR so that you can make space for more players to go on your team, I think Ridley is droppable at this point.
Scott.
So I'm with Hutch. I don't think he's coming back this season. If he does say he's coming back, how much do you trust him playing him in that first game? You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, it's not going to be this week, week 14. The schedule, 49ers, Lions, Bills, 15 through 17 playoffs. Lions are a decent matchup. 49ers have been a decent matchup for top receivers, as we just talked about recently, but over the course of the season, they've been middle of the pack to fairly decent. Bills, obviously, they lost Tre'Davious White, so that's, we have no data points on what their defense is going to look like.
They held the Patriots to 12 passing yards.
Yeah, 3 passing.
Yeah.
Right? 19 yards on 3 passing attempts. Yeah, so we basically have no data points on what it's like without Tre'Davious White. I honestly would move on, but I really want to know the players he's considering in this spot. Are those players that he's going to throw on IR even worth keeping either? It's Ridley probably has a higher upside than the guys you want to throw on IR right now. If he does return. But I don't think he's going to return.
We kind of debated this point a few weeks back on our Wednesday show. And at that point it was, I'm still holding Ridley. I know Joe was very much against it. He's like, look, he's not coming back this year. As we inch a little bit closer, not hearing anything, it's starting to make me feel like that Ridley's probably not coming back.
Yeah.
But as somebody like Hutch that had Calvin Ridley as his wide receiver 1, I'm keeping Calvin Ridley on my roster in my IR spot, and he's helping me win a championship for moral support. That's simple.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm doing
it for Ridley, damn it.
I feel like, yeah, I'm really, I'm not saying you must drop him and you have to drop him, but in certain situations, I think he's droppable. Maybe in a deeper league, you might want to hold on to him because the waiver options that you would fill your roster with are probably not very good. But in a 10 teamer, I think you can let him go. Honestly, I think you can let him go. The waiver options are too nice, like on a 10 team or maybe even a 12 teamer league, depending on how big your roster size is. It really all depends on the players on the waiver wire, to be honest, that you're going to fill your roster with. But he is droppable. There are situations where you can drop him.
Yep.
So I was curious and went digging around the Falcons injury report, just for kicks and giggles, and I've just came across something that I have never seen before. Cordarrelle Patterson is on the injury report, but not injury related, veteran rest.
Yeah. Very common on Wednesdays.
He didn't practice apparently, but I just never heard that phrasing.
That's what happens when players get into their 30s. They need breaks every once in a while.
It's a very common thing on Wednesdays for veteran rest days.
I'm in my Jeez, I officially hit mid-30s. Josh, you're still older than me. Q wants to know how you feel about Jeff Wilson, and is Mixon playing Hutch?
I think Mixon's going to play. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's still RB1 type of start. Jeff Wilson, we were talking about him earlier. He is a scary start, but he's someone he's got to get 15-plus touches, as Scott was saying. Like, the 49ers give so many touches to their running backs in the running game and some in the passing game as well. And Jeff Wilson's one of the only healthy running backs for that team, right next to JaMychal Hasty. So he's someone I'm trusting as like a very low RB2 this week.
Scott.
Okay, so on the Wilson side, I feel like we've talked about him a decent amount. I think, like Hutch said, I have him right in that same range, low end RB2. I think 23, 24, somewhere in that range. as for Joe Mixon, if he goes, I think I have him as my RB4 this week. It's just a ridiculously awesome matchup for him. I just think it's a really good spot because over the past 5 weeks, the 49ers, just like number one running backs, they're fourth worst against fantasy running backs. They've allowed 7 rushing touchdowns in the last 5 weeks to running backs. I just think it's a good spot. However, luckily this is one year. You're going to have to wait till, or not lucky, unluckily, you're going to have to wait to Sunday to find out because it's illness, like we saw Boston Scott miss all week of practice with an illness, and he was activated for the game. He was in the game, but he only had 4 snaps, 3 on offense, 1 on special teams, and he was more there just as a backup role in case they needed him. That could be the concern for Mixon. You're just gonna. We're not fortune tellers here. It's Saturday morning. You're gonna have to keep abreast of that situation tomorrow to find out if he's playing. But if he does go, I feel like that means he's over his illness and he's good to go for another 20+ touch game. He's scored in 9 straight. How ridiculous is that? Mixon scored in 9 straight now.
I think
I can't remember the last time a Bengals running back did that. Yeah. If they've ever done that. I mean, let's be honest.
It would have had to been like Rudy Johnson back in the day with his I
was thinking him or Corey Dillon.
Oh yeah, it could have been Dillon. Yeah. Or maybe neither of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on this. We've definitely talked about Wilson. He should be fine. Mixon, we saw with Dalvin Cook. Dude, if your studs play, you're playing him. Like, they got you to this point.
Yeah, man.
The last thing you want to do is throw him on your bench and then see 25 points on your bench for somebody that maybe scored 7.
I mean, to be fair, though, I would – sorry, Josh, interrupt you. I'd rather bench someone than they go off for like 20 points than start them on my lineup and have them score like 6. Because they're actually like hurting.
Which is fine, but when it's the guy that got you to the playoffs?
Yes, I'm not saying to bench Joe Mixon, but I'm just saying in that kind of situation, I'd rather see someone go off my bench than hurt me in my actual lineup.
Hutch, I would rather see somebody go off on my lineup than in my bench.
I agree with you there.
Sure.
That sounds like an easy question, but yeah.
Okay. Jones or Dillon?
I'm assuming
Aaron Jones. Is this Aaron Jones? Yeah.
That would be my guess.
You make that assumption. Works for me. Hutch.
Yeah, I think. Oh man, I'm gonna go with Dillon here. I cannot trust Aaron Jones right now. Dillon's looked good on the field and he's been getting the workload. Chicago isn't the best matchup, but the thing is, the Packers love to show up against the Bears. They did the last time they played them, and Aaron Rodgers was telling the Bears fans he owns them because he does. And I think Dillon gets a good game here, scores a touchdown, gets a few catches. And Dillon actually, over the past 2 games, he's seen 11 targets, got 11 catches. Like, he's actually been pretty good in the passing game. Jones hasn't gotten much work. I'm starting Dillon here, and I'm not really looking back.
Yeah, this one is almost a coin flip for me. If Aaron Jones was 100%, like he still wasn't last week, I would say it's slightly Jones. I have them back to back in my rankings because I'm not sure which one to do. I will say, even though AJ Dillon's had a bunch of targets, he had like 50 yards in the last 2 games receiving 50 or 60. It's low 60s. He's not
many yards, but
he's not super efficient with them. Aaron Jones, if you watch, is just a smoother pass catcher, and he's much more efficient with them. And Aaron Jones tends to get more goal line work. So I guess I'd give the slight edge to Jones, but honestly, it's a coin flip, and I'm fine if you agree with Hutch that, it might just be Dillon's turn and Aaron Jones isn't fully healthy. So maybe they continue to rest him a little bit and split it nice and evenly so that both can stay healthy for the playoffs.
Yeah. The Packers coaching staff have shown that they are very conservative with Jones with his injuries. That
it's not just Jones. This is a trademark Packers thing for decades, that they are super cautious with injuries. So, I think you're almost convincing me to flip them back to have Dillon. They're back to back in my rankings, but yes.
I'm also going to lean Dillon here. And Scott, you brought it up. They tend to tread lightly with injuries. They're in a spot to make the playoff. They're fighting for a first round bye. They know they're going to be in the playoffs. Why risk serious injury to Jones at this point when you can lean on a 250-pound back in freezing cold weather that's just going to bludgeon defenses and wear them out?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I talked about on a show yesterday is that I think we're going to see Dylan get more and more work going forward because he's a mutter, like he's
mutter was a mutter.
Yeah, exactly. I actually said that on the show.
He was bred
built
for
all
this time of year.
All this snow this time of year. So yeah, I can see that going forward.
Oh, thank you for getting my reference, Scott.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. His father was a mutter.
His father was a mother? His mother was a mother. Yep. It's great. Hutch is like, I don't get Seinfeld references.
No, I don't. I've never watched Seinfeld at all. Just what you were saying was kind of funny. So I just thought,
Hutch has never seen It's a Wonderful Life.
I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life.
It's
Okay, you're not missing anything. I hate it.
Yeah, Faith, that's what Faith said on Twitter.
Yep.
It's overrated.
It's the worst. It is. Thank you, Josh. I knew I loved you. Goat or goat? Hutch.
Over the season, Brady's been better, but I've been playing Rodgers this week. Brady, I think both are fine. I think both are, mid to lower end QB1s, but Brady just has a much tougher matchup this week with the Bills. And, they just did lose Tre'Davious White. I get it, but I want to start the player who shows up against Chicago every time he plays him. Aaron Rodgers is the guy here for me. But they're really close for me in my rankings. I wouldn't mind if you started Brady at all.
Yeah, this is my number 2 and my number 3 guy in my rankings. I'll say this one thing about the Bills.
I got it 6 and 7.
They do have a great pass defense. They were great last year. They do have a good pass defense, but the quarterbacks that they've held down were like Big Ben, Brissett, Heineke, Davis Mills, Ryan Tannehill, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Mike White, Carson Wentz, Trevor Siemian. Like, they haven't really played a Brady. They've had a cupcake schedule as far as quarterbacks that they played against. I think, like you, I would prefer Aaron Rodgers, who has just owned the Bears, and he shows up against the Bears. But I have him neck and neck. That Bills-Bucks game, another game that's I believe the line is 55 points. I can just see shootout happening there. But
we can see that Chiefs Ram game in was that 2018?
Oh man, that game was amazing.
That game was amazing. Wasn't that Monday night?
Yeah, it was. It was like 55-53, I think was the final, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 54-51. Chiefs were driving on the field, and then Mahomes threw an interception, and that was it.
Yeah, that was one of the best games I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I have Rodgers slightly ahead of Brady at this moment in my rankings.
Josh.
I'm going to do my best Joe Zolo impression here. Excuse me. Tom Brady owns the Buffalo Bills.
That's true. He does
more wins against that franchise than any quarterback has against any franchise in NFL history.
Right.
32-3. I don't care if he's playing for a different team.
Do you want to hear his last 4 games against the Bills? 271 and 1 touchdown.
Was here. Damn it. Okay.
271 yards and 1 touchdown, 150 yards and 0 touchdowns, 126 and 1 touchdown, 324 and 0 touchdowns.
Damn, where's Joe when I need him?
He has owned he has owned the Bills with wins, but once again, I have Brady my number 3 guy in my rankings. I think that he rises above that. And those Bills defenses, I think, were a lot better than this current Bills defense, especially without Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
He has owned the Bills, but the stats just you would have expected them to be higher. That I found that in my research, and I was like, I expected this to be higher.
Fair enough. I'm still gonna go Brady, but
all right.
I just do that
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it, man.
I'm sure Joe would have a very different rebuttal, but I'll just leave it at that.
Joe has a rebuttal for everything.
Yeah, it's usually okay. Cool.
Everything.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, I was right last week, but whatever. Check the tapes. I was right, but whatever. That's Joe. Jack wants to know. Hilliard or Hasty? For what it's worth, I'm starting both of them in random places. Because I too
am in rough
Wow.
shape.
That's gross.
It is gross, Scott.
I can start. I can start if you want. I'm going Hasty just because, as we mentioned before, I think the 49ers they average nearly 30 touches. Their running backs. I think Hasty gets 10-ish of those. He's really the only other guy this week. Hilliard, I'm worried that McNichols will come in and steal some of that work from him, just enough to make him not viable. I trust Hasty a slight bit more, but man, these are both real dart throw plays.
If you are relying on either one of these, then you are definitely
in rough shape. I mean, Jack,
you are going
to lose. The question with that.
Listen, Hutch, sometimes you just need a body to fill out your roster. You may not lose because the rest of the people on your team may be amazing. Shush with your negative energy.
You want me to go on who to start?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm disagreeing with Scott here. I'm going to go with Hilliard. I feel like the Titans...
Respect your elders, Hutch. Jesus.
I feel like the Titans really found their new run game last week against the New England Patriots. They Hilliard and Foreman both got over 100 yards, both averaged over 4 yards a carry, both scored a touchdown, and Hilliard has scored and has shown has proved more in the passing game than Foreman. And then this is a great matchup with Jacksonville, where they could be ahead, they could be running the ball, and even if they fall behind, they fell behind against the Patriots, and they kept freaking running the ball. And they looked stupid doing it, but the run game was working. But they were so behind, it didn't really matter. But I'm gonna start Hilliard here, but both are very scary.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Hilliard. I think he's just got more juice. And it feels like when Shanahan leans on a running back, no other running backs tend to get much touches. So if we're expecting this type of like solid game from Wilson, I just don't know that there's going to be enough for Hasty. I know you mentioned McNichols. He was mostly a third down guy anyway.
Yeah, that's where he's going to take the passing game work.
Yeah,
that's my concern.
And Hilliard, I felt like was really getting worked more in on the rushing downs with Foreman anyway. And yeah, he's not as big as Foreman, but he's got more juice. And I think that's really what this team needs right now. And let's be honest, Jacksonville sucks. So
why does Jacksonville suck, Josh?
Because Urban Meyer sucks.
Because Urban Meyer sucks.
Yes, that's right.
Speaking of Urban Meyer, Jack is here for all of our Urban Meyer slander.
Hit that subscribe button, buddy. Win a chance to win some swag. So
you're welcome. Anytime. Okay, so Scott and Hutch, we are going to move into our lightning round. You are both full of amazing knowledge and stats, but we are running out of time. So, lightning round it is. Elixirs in a standard league. Yeah, there's the ew. Cooks against Seattle or Judy against Detroit. Hutch.
You got to go with Judy here.
Scott.
Judy or Cooks? Oh, Judy. Yep.
Josh.
Standard, I think I'm going to go Cooks. I think he has more big play potential for yards and a longer touchdown. I know Davis Mills isn't hot stuff, but he kept Cooks afloat when he was starting earlier. So
yeah, I think Cooks averages like 8 targets with Davis Mills in. So.
Yeah, I just want a touchdown from Judy.
Justin wants to know Zeke or Javonte. Hutch.
Oh man, Javonte.
Scott.
Yeah, it's probably Javonte for me. Although if Pollard doesn't go, Zeke is going to get a lot of volume. He's been so inefficient though that I'd rather have Javonte. I feel there's more upside there.
Josh.
Agreed, Javonte.
Also from Justin, Jeff Wilson or J-Rob.
We've answered that.
Yeah, we've answered that. Wilson. Got to be Wilson.
Start 2. Mooney, Ayuk, or Lions running back.
Not a Lions running back. It can't be a Lions running back. It's got to be Mooney and Ayuk here. No way.
Yeah.
Not messing with that
backfield. Lions
backfield.
running back doesn't even have a name. It's just
I am not
touching.
I'm not touching that backfield this week. No way.
Yeah, it's definitely the Mooney and Ayuk. Like Godwin Igwebuike might have an okay game on volume. Jamar Jefferson might get something in there. They might what's the guy's name? The Cutstown guy that they might bring up from practice squad.
I'm looking. I'm trying to find him. I feel like I might know who you're talking about. Oh my goodness. Is it
James Edwards or something? Let me do Lions.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Craig Reynolds, that's it.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Craig Reynolds. Watch him get pulled up and be the guy that scores a touchdown. Like Austin Walter or whatever. Yeah, it's Mooney and Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Josh, you want to differ there?
Yeah, no, you're not. There is no way in hell you can start a Lions running back with any sense of confidence.
Especially
I don't
against
love the
Denver.
matchups really for Mooney or Ayuk, but I'm going to trust their talent more than I will some guys that haven't played much this season. So.
Yep.
Scott made the playoffs in Scott Fishbowl. Fun fact, of the 4 people in this current live stream, only one of us made the playoffs in Scott Fishbowl. And me.
Yeah.
What do you
It's not
think
the guy who the tournament's named after.
Nope.
Sorry, Scott.
That's how you
Second
know
time.
that it's not rigged, because he didn't even make the playoffs. What do you make of the Chargers receiving situation? Hutch.
So Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are out this week.
They're saying
know.
that Williams has he's been consistently testing negative, so he
needs to
clear.
test negative this morning, and he's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Keenan's out, Williams is a great play if he's playing. If not, I think Guyton. Could be a good play, but that's really it. Otherwise, and then Jared Cook obviously gets a little bit more volume, but
Yep.
I'm not super excited about it.
We can see a Parham touchdown too. He's right on Guyton though. It's probably Guyton over Palmer because last year Guyton played a ton of slot. That's where Keenan plays. He's only played like 25% slot this year, but I think that's where he slides in with Keenan out.
Josh.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I do think Jared Cook's going to have a very good game just based on volume alone as well with Keenan Allen out.
Yeah,
he lines up a lot more in the slot and out wide than he does in line as a blocker.
Is it risky to start both Jones and Dylan Hutch?
Well, I mean, I just don't want to start Jones. I mean, Dylan, I think, is a great start. I think he's a pretty, mid RB2 kind of start. Jones, I just don't want to start him. Like I'm considering benching him this week in a lot of different leagues, trying to get him out of my lineup. I just don't want to start Jones, but I'm not too mad at this. No.
Scott.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It depends on who your other options are, but it's not that risky. They're splitting enough and for both of them to be somewhat viable. They both catch passes too, which helps.
Would you start Javonte over Jones? Because I would.
No. Would I start Javonte over Jones? Yeah,
Yes.
I'll start Javonte over both of them, probably.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
man. No,
Josh.
Dylan makes it tougher, but I'd start Javonte over Jones. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Josh.
I think you can start both of them just fine. I think they have top 30 floors, and that's kind of.
So Jones scored 2 points last week, I think.
I have Javonte 17 and Aaron Jones 18 in my rankings, so it's very close.
There you go.
Then I have AJ Dillon 20.
Carrington wants to give you props on your Joe impersonation.
Thank you,
Joe.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. Back to our lightning round. People don't follow the rules here.
Yeah, we don't.
Why would we do that around here?
We just love talking.
Sean wants to know Brady or Dak. Hutch.
Did we not answer that?
Ooh, Dak.
No,
No, we
Dak.
had Dak or Stafford.
Oh, we did Stafford or okay.
Yeah.
I have
Brady or
Brady higher.
Rodgers.
I have Brady higher. That top 6 or so is just neck and neck though.
Yes. Yeah.
Josh.
Well, I gave my Brady pitch, so I'll stick to that. But I also want to shout out Sean. If I'm not mistaken, he's the only remaining undefeated team
He
left
is.
at Fishbowl. So
He
Kudos.
is
Only
That's
one.
very awesome.
13 and
Yes.
0.
13 and 0.
Dang.
That's impressive.
Also, our girl Stefania Bell hanging out in the top 10,
Mm-hmm.
like she has been for a good most of the season.
Yes.
Isn't Alfredo up there?
He's
Alfredo
been
Brown?
crushing.
He
Yeah,
was
he's up
undefeated
there.
for a while, right?
Yeah, he was undefeated for a
he's up
while
there.
too. But yeah, Sean is the last sole undefeated. All right, I'm gonna get to your question in a second, Lee. But first, Herbert or Stafford, Hutch?
Oh man, who did the Chargers play again? Sorry, I forgot.
Giants.
Giants. Herbert, 100%. Even with the weapons out, I'm starting Herbert.
Interesting.
Even weapons out, I'm going Herbert. I don't trust Stafford.
I have Stafford 6, Herbert 9. Stafford's I said top 6. My top 7 is actually really close. The Kyler, Rodgers, Brady, Hill, Allen, Stafford, Dak. Like they're all just in this group for me. And then just outside that group is Herbert. But
I'm gonna go Herbert. I just think the Giants suck.
Yeah, the Giants suck. Giants do suck.
At that point, it's just. I mean, Herbert's been throwing it from all angles, and whoever's catching passes, they're going to be just fine.
Not to mention, like the good quarterbacks, like the Daks, the Staffords, Mahomes, Brady's, they all average like 285 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns against the Giants. So, like, good quarterbacks do well against the Giants.
Yeah.
McSweet wants to know, is Hendy playing Hutch?
Henderson?
Would be my guess.
Yeah, Henderson, right? Yeah.
It's a Monday night decision for people, too.
Yeah, it's a Monday night decision. I don't want to bet on him playing. Be prepared to be without him.
I don't either. Yep. You want to have a backup plan.
If I'm not mistaken, I think McSweet also has Sony Michel in his lineup or on his team as well. So at least he has that pivot.
Oh, nice.
Okay, then I think I just wait that out then. Sony Michel or Hendy.
Yeah.
And whoever
Yeah, you
starts
can definitely
there.
wait it out from that standpoint. I don't think it's a good matchup either way. And I'm not 1,000% certain who some of those other people are. I'll have to check my Instagram DMs. But I mean, he played last week. He was active, even though he didn't really play. I think it was more of a break glass in case of emergency kind of thing last week. Depending on how serious the thigh injury is, you could end up seeing something very similar.
I love
this
that
week.
question.
Yeah, Carrington's with us every
Carrington
week.
Hobbs, yes.
And, yeah. Okay, so quickly, Toys for Todd, since you did shopping, Scott, but we're just going to ask everybody, what is your childhood Christmas gift, RB1 Hutch?
Childhood Christmas gift, RB1.
Best gift you ever got as a gift. Best gift you ever got for Christmas.
I thought they were saying as an RB1.
Right behind me. Right behind me right there.
The Henry jersey?
That was the signed Henry jersey was a Christmas gift, and that was just incredible.
What was it last year? Because you're still
it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. That was incredible. I didn't expect it at all. Like, we were looking for some, we couldn't find any, and my dad found one. And
I just want to say for the record, Andy's a goat. Andy is a damn goat.
My dad is awesome. Everyone on Twitter loves my dad. It's weird. Like, when we do our DFS showdown every week, like, everyone loves to root for him and not me because they're both old together.
Andy was at the expo with Hutch. And
he was, yeah.
Andy was ready to drop some bows on people because people were trying to get Hutch drunk. And Hutch is 15. And I was like, Andy's going to end up killing somebody.
No, he had a great time. He loved it.
Scott.
I read this
older than us.
I read this differently, and probably because I read the next one by him that said, I draft the puppy I got as a kid. That little guy was shifty and could catch too.
Oh,
that's what Lee said. So I was thinking, who would I draft as my RB1? And it's like, with my age, you can imagine, it's probably He-Man. It was probably He-Man. I would take He-Man as an RB1. Like, that He-Man would probably make Derrick Henry look small. Like, just giant guy out there.
I was never into toys.
I don't think you could take him down.
Answer this question, Josh.
So there's a couple Christmas gifts that I remember very vividly. One of them was the OG PlayStation that I got.
Okay.
When I think it was like 13 was when that came out. And then the other one, which I'm going to nominate as my choice, my mom got me a Bo Jackson rookie card. I was one of the biggest Bo Jackson fans on the planet. And Bo Jackson was like God for me. And getting that rookie card was like, love it. So I'm going to nominate Bo Jackson. That would be, which is very fitting because he's arguably one of the greatest running backs of all time. So, although I think it was a Royals baseball card, actually, now that I think about it.
I was that kid who didn't really play with toys. I didn't do Barbies. I didn't do dolls. I didn't do cars, whatever.
Yeah, I don't do many toys like you. I don't do many. Like,
I was that kid who always wanted books for Christmas. I like to read. I like words. It's why I edit now. Okay, so Sony is out with COVID.
I'm
Oh,
looking at
shit.
sleeper.
Missed that
I'm looking
one.
at sleepers like news and stuff. I have not seen that yet. I've been looking.
I
at
haven't
that for a
seen
while.
that from Roto World either, or NBC Edge. I have not seen that news at all. So that must
I'll
have
look at
come down.
Twitter,
That
see some-
probably came down this morning without us noticing.
Yeah, I'll look at like I'll see if like Schefter or someone reported it on Twitter.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I believe him. I just
yeah,
I just
he-
don't believe him.
there's a post from Field Yates that Sonny Michel was placed on COVID in October of 2020. That doesn't help us at the current
Well,
moment. But
Yeah,
I'm seeing
I'm looking
Made you
for
look,
Sony
he
Michel.
said.
Nothing.
even
Wow,
searching
Tyson.
Twitter, I can't find anything.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too.
Damn, Tyson.
Oh,
Playing April
wow.
Fool's jokes in December.
Mm.
That hurts.
Dang.
There you go.
We
For
got
mixed
God.
sweet, I'd go MVS over Nick Westbrook.
Okay. Y'all, thank you for joining us this morning. If we did not get to your question, I am so sorry. Josh will be happy to answer your questions on Twitter. Were you going to say something, Josh?
I'm just typing in the chat right now, trying to.
Oh,
get
okay.
some of these questions.
Also, Josh will do that to answer your questions. It is week 14. Scott Fishbowl playoffs start this weekend. If you are in the playoffs, congratulations. Good luck. If you sat Dalvin Cook, so sorry. I know Scott Fishbowl playoffs are interesting because it's just points and you're not really playing against anybody. So you are basically your own worst nightmare. Like, you can't lose to anybody but yourself.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you could look at it. You're playing against like 750 other people.
That's even more stressful, Scott.
Yeah.
I don't need to beat 750 other people, though.
No, just top 200 advance.
Oh, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you for that, Scott. Appreciate that nice boost of happiness there.
Thanks for having me come on. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
You're welcome
Thank
back
you.
anytime, Scott.
Yes,
Sounds
thank you for
good.
joining us, Scott and Hutch. Hutch is at TYFMNFL on Twitter. Scott is at ScottFish24. For Josh, at the one Hudsonian, myself at FF_leap of faith. Again, if you have any questions tonight or tomorrow, hit us up on Twitter at Club Fantasy FFL. For Joe and Ryan, who are not here because they're dealing with a bunch of Santas and a tow truck. Maybe Ryan's tow truck driver is dressed like Santa. That would be fun.
If it were.
That would be. Good luck this week in your leagues. If you are in the playoffs or trying to make the playoffs, may the odds be ever in your favor. Josh, take us out.
Oh, yeah, this is the video wrap. Okay. Be
Yeah.
sure to check
Oh
us
my
out,
God.
clubfantasyffl.com. Whole list of articles that we put out every week. My confidence plays drop, Joel's blurred lines article. Ryan's going to be dropping his Thrive Fantasy prop lobby bets on our YouTube page. So if you're still watching, be sure to hit that subscribe button when we hit 300 subscribers. I'm giving away some fun little signed merchandise, and you can see one of the stuff that I got behind Hutch, that little Rams helmet that he was.
Oh
so
yeah,
nice
the
with
Cam Akers
Yeah.
helmet.
There you go. See,
Right there.
yeah, we
Cam
take
Akers
care of our
helmet.
people around here at Club Fantasy. So when you show
Yeah.
support, we got your back. So with that, Scott, Hutch, thank you guys so much. Joe, Ryan, love you guys. We'll see y'all next week.
But we don't miss you. Bye.
Oh, stop.